Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of All Things MSP Live. Tonight's show, we have kind of a follow-up to the one that I did a couple weeks ago on AI and how it fits into a, client stack in terms of things that you can offer as an MSP to help your clients with AI by building specific packages that you can then sell, manage, educate them, all of those different things on AI. Because I'm sorry, AI is here to stay. It's not a flash in the pan. This is something that people are going to use every day in business. But there is a dark side to this, and that is what a friend of mine has called or coined the phrase shadow AI. And I think this is completely valid, by the way. I think there is, just like shadow IT, I think employees of your clients are using AI. And so it's your responsibility as the technology provider, if you are managing their technology, and we've had that discussion before, right? About managed technology versus just, helping them when they have a problem. But if you're managing it, that shadow AI could actually represent a threat to their cybersecurity. So with me tonight, I have Corey Kirkendoll. A lot of you probably know him. He is the president and CEO of 5K Technical Services out of Dallas, Texas. He's done a lot with CompTIA. In fact, he's kind of one of the people when I first came into CompTIA was really, really involved and was kind of a mentor of mine in terms of CompTIA. So he's going to be on the show tonight. I encourage everybody to ask questions. If there's somebody out there who wants to join in the conversation and join us here on the live stream, let me know. And we'll try and fit that in as well. But for right now, we have a lot of new sponsors that we are onboarding in February. So check them out. Now, first up, if you didn't know, yes, we have all things MSP merchandise. So just go over to atmsp.link/merch and pick yourself up a t-shirt, a hoodie, a puzzle, a mouse pad, whatever. Support the channel. Thank you. And the first vendor sponsor of the evening is Produce 8. Design your perfect workday. Productivity is declining while hours worked are rising. The problem isn't how hard we work, it's the way we work. Now, look forward to a podcast with Produce 8 coming up very soon. And our first premier sponsor of the evening is GoZinta. GoZinta connects your systems together to make sure you enter your data once and it goes into all the systems that it should. And our second new premier sponsor is EasyDmark. Level up your domain security and email deliverability, achieve peace of mind, stop ransomware, business email compromise, email phishing, CEO fraud, domain spoofing, and other attacks with EasyDmark. And to round out our trio of new premier sponsors, Comtech Systems is a voice over IP system that integrates seamlessly with Microsoft Teams and supports legacy telephony devices like access control and elevators. Check them out, Comtech Systems. And last but not least is CoreView, our very first elite sponsor and Microsoft 365 management platform designed for MSPs. Exceed your customers' business requirements, earn their trust, and turn your customers into lifetime partners with CoreView. All right. Well, thank you so much to all of our sponsors for supporting this channel. I think it's great that we are now able to do a lot of new things with the channel, with the live stream, with podcast, all the different things to benefit the community. So thanks again to our sponsors. And now would be a great time, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead, go over there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's at All Things MSP. And if you're not a member of the Facebook group, go ahead, head over to Facebook and join the Facebook group. There are a couple of questions, answer them. We, kind of check to make sure we're not just letting in anybody. And if Facebook is not your thing, go ahead, go over to LinkedIn. And we also have a page over there. We publish pretty much everything to all the different places. Obviously, some of the discussions that we have more deeper discussions in the Facebook group, but we'll have them over on LinkedIn as well. So whatever works for you. But for right now, let's get on with the show. Helps to unmute. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again tonight. Tonight's episode, I think, is going to be really, really interesting because we all know about the problems with shadow IT, right? But I thought about this and my guest tonight brought this up to me as a topic, and I hadn't thought about it until he brought it to me, and I'm like, that's a thing. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is shadow AI. It's basically your clients using AI and without your knowledge, without knowing that that technology is being integrated into their business workflows. So without further ado, I want to go ahead and add Corey Kirkendoll to the call. Hey, Corey, how are you?
I'm doing well, Eric. How you doing, man? How you
I'm
doing?
doing great, sir. How's Dallas tonight?
Man, it's a little cool but dry, and so I'll take it. But this is Dallas, man. It could be snowing, could have a hurricane, tornado, something could be coming off. But for right now, I'll take the weather. It's been pretty good, man. It's a nice day.
Awesome. So for anybody who doesn't know you, how long have you been doing this MSP thing?
Man, seems like it's been forever, man. So I actually started out in 2006, man. So that makes me about my 15th, 16th year doing this, man. So it's been a while. So I'm one of the old heads out there when they were doing MSP University way back here, flying into Dallas, with Eric Simpson and Rob Ray and those guys way back at Level Platforms, right? And things from that perspective. So I've been around and I've seen a lot of change and a lot of good, a lot of bad, but it's been good. It's been good. It's fun. Still fun a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, in spite of all the things that have changed in our industry and cybersecurity, those kind of threats being one of the things that is not so fun about all of this, right?
Yeah.
It's it really is still a great industry to be in. And there's just so much, I talk about it a lot. I talk about the abundance mentality in this business and how and we were talking about it earlier before the show, kind of how you don't necessarily have competitors in this business as much as you have friends because everybody's kind of working towards the same goal. And that's one of the things I love about this industry.
I definitely love that, man. Is that that when you talk about a sense of community, I'll say we're pretty much unique. I remember when we first started, the bigger companies and people used to shy away from the MSP community, the channel, right? They're like, not those guys, right? And all of a sudden they figured it out and said, hold up, there's gold in them there hills, right? And they came running back. But when you have that mentality as an MSP, if you feel like you're struggling, it's kind of like, hey, you're not the only one doing the things like that. So that's why you have to create those friends of people you would think as competitors and build those relationships because you never know when you need somebody, where it comes from. And I always love this phrase I tell everybody when they meet me is like, when one MSP coughs, we all catch the cold, right? So why don't we do what we got to do to protect each other, right?
Yep, for sure. And, that I didn't always have that mentality, right? When I started out, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. I didn't even I wouldn't refer people to GFI Max because I thought that GFI Max was my competitive advantage, right?
Yep.
And I didn't realize that there's just so many small businesses out there that need the assistance of an MSP that, competition is not, it's just not a thing that really exists so much. So, although that's not the topic for tonight,
Sure.
I'm steering us off topic. But that kind of happens. By the way, you're one of the people that when I go to a show, you and I always almost try and get together just, for a bite or a drink to kind of chat things out and see how everybody's doing, see what's going on that's new. And obviously AI is a huge thing that's happening
for sure.
And a couple of weeks ago, I did an episode where I just kind of did my thoughts on how an MSP might put some AI into their stack. And I had Keith Nelson on that night as well to kind of talk through that so that I had, an MSP who is doing it now and somebody who really does try and create some custom solutions for his clients. So this is almost kind of a follow-up to that. And I'm extremely thankful that you reached out actually and brought me this topic, because I think that this is one of those things that for me, it was a big aha, because I don't think that many people are thinking about this, especially kind of at the small business level.
Sure.
So describe to me and the audience what your thoughts are, what made you think of this shadow AI thing in the first place?
Yeah, when you sit there and you look at it, man, you can't go through a presentation or anything without the coin AI, right? And it's becoming kind of a, oh my God, not that stuff again. But when you sit there and look at it, like just today, Samsung released their new phone, and it's going to be AI capable, right? You got what's happening in Beam, what's happening in Amazon, right? They're like, hey, we're going to enable a shopping cart now, and it's going to go find you and come at you and just go find everything you need and put it in front of you. So you can't get away from it. I think, but there's no guardrails, right? When you sit there and look what happened at the World Economic Summit, a couple of weeks ago, right? The number one topic was AI. They had the guy from OpenAI sitting there with them talking about, how do we deal with this? What do we do with this? Because remember, man, when ChatGPT came out, man, in less than 3 months, we had 100 million users, right? And it's just continuing to go forward, and it's going to continue to go up. There's nothing that has taken this industry or the world by storm like this, right? You think of it, took 75 years for the phone to even get to that point, right?
Yep.
3 months, right? That's what it was. And so you think about those kind of conversations, it's not if, it's just when. And so if you're not thinking about this or figuring out how to get in front of this or figure out how to be that strategist and talk to your customers about it, somebody else will be, or they're going to get it wrong, or you're going to be in there in a different conversation, having a cybersecurity or some incident conversation because some data got infiltrated, something got taken away, and something bad happened, right? So it really, right now, it's time to be in that education stage, to start walking down that path to make sure that they got all their ducks in a row and that they're doing the right thing, right? They're doing the right thing.
Yeah, and I've had this conversation. In fact, I just wrote an article for CompTIA that dropped, I think, yesterday, about kind of how AI is not just a new technology that's hit the space. This is something that is going to, a lot of people think, and I kind of agree, is going to enable the next evolution of work. We've had the industrial revolution where we went from using human horsepower, for
Yep.
lack of a better word, to do a lot of work and make things and do things, to then, shuffling that work off to machines so that we could do more knowledge work. And now we're going to be shifting some of that knowledge work over to AI so that we can do more of the creative work and the work that AI can't do. And so I think that this is a transformational
Yeah.
technology
No,
at this
no
point.
doubt.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. Right now there was a couple of months ago, there was a big thing that, oh my God, AI is going to take my job and going to do it. I believe it's going to eliminate some jobs. It's going to repurpose a lot of jobs, right? Those who were doing those tedious, create a report, generate a report, doing some things like that, it's going to kind of kick you in the gear, kick you in your butt to say, you know what, I need to be reskilling to take my game to the next level. I can't hide anymore, right? So that little hiding in the background from those perspectives, that's going to go away, right? What was funny is, because I've been traveling and seeing this stuff, man, at CES, a couple of weeks ago when it came out, right? They had a full-blown AI bartender, right? And all it was doing was serving drinks. And it was so accurate. It was just slamming and jamming them, right? So the only thing it couldn't do was hold a conversation, right? But it was accurate. So to the business owners, they were like, yo, this hits my bottom line. No more waste, no more poor. I ain't got anybody going down that path. But yeah, I lose a little bit about that. But that allows my bartender to go up to become the service manager or take it up to another level, right? Still can have that conversation, but I don't have to be behind the bar. I can come around and provide another level of intimacy to that customer that they don't have anymore, right? That's the way you have to think about it, is how do I incorporate this to take my stuff to the next level, but also reskill, repurpose my engineers or my people to take it one step further when it comes to customer service and delivery, right? That's the mentality that you have to get into.
Okay. So shadow AI. Let's get a little more specific.
Yeah.
When you say AI, what does that look like at a client?
Yeah, so I believe it starts off where everybody's kind of tipped off. They went and opened up an open AI account and started working with. They got a Bard account or a Dali account or whatever that's going to be, and they're starting to do it. They're creating marketing. They're creating social media posts. They're doing some of their job now by just creating it to help them get started. The challenge, what it is that AI is good, but it's trust but verify. Don't go out there on its own. And so therefore they could be putting misinformation out there, right? Because it takes what it's learned and done from misinformation out there, or it may not be the appropriate message or the tone that the company may want to put out there from that perspective. And also, as it's learning and it's doing things, you may be inadvertently giving something to it that it probably shouldn't have access to, right? And when I was writing an article for and doing something for feedback for another magazine this week, I'd say it's going to be kind of like that Steve Urkel kind of conversation. We're going to be in a place in a couple of months and you're going to be like, did I do that? And yes, you did.
Yeah.
By accident, right? Not knowing, had good intentions, but there was no rules. There was nothing in place to sit there and govern that piece to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And does it meet our culture, the way we want to do business, and the way we want to integrate this technology, right? It's happening. Yep. You can't stop it. You got to get in board with it.
Well, and kind of going back to the Urkel comment, when you told me about this topic and I started thinking about it, one of the things that I kind of thought about was, well, there's a lot of circumstances where they may not know that they're using AI. They may not know that they're giving up information and data to a large language model. What do you think about that?
So, I don't know if anybody pays attention, being in the IT industry, most of us don't, right? Is when you go out there and you sign up for an account and you do certain things, they pop up those privacy and those agreements in there right on the back front page. It tells me I am keeping your location. I am keeping your information. I am holding on to your chat and what's going on, what your conversation looks like. If you choose to click forward, then you have accepted that. And that's where I went through. So therefore, I know, but I don't know. Right. And that happens across the board. And you kind of sit down in that perspective. And that's why you have to sit down there and say, before I go out there or do anything with that information, I got to have some policies and procedure. I got to have some rules, some laws of the land of how I want to go do that. If not, it's all fair game, because by not having a policy and not stating it, you're kind of saying it's okay. Right.
Yeah.
So you got to put it down.
Well, just kind of like how we deal with shadow IT, right? The way you deal with shadow IT is, and if I miss something, fill in the blanks for me. But first of all, it's the monitoring, right? You're monitoring the network and things to make sure that they're not adding their own devices that aren't managed devices into the network. The other thing is, applications. So you're monitoring maybe their cloud application usage, but then the most important thing you can put in place is policies.
100%. Yeah. And that is exactly right on point. And then, what also starts that, what really kicks off the shadow IT is that when you put all those things into place, they believe that you put a lot of red tape up that slows down productivity. The process and procedures don't align with the expectations of the people who need to work on the end. So I need to transfer a file to a customer. Well, if I go to IT, they got to get permission, got to get what happens. It takes 2 weeks and what I need to get done from that perspective, right? And then we go down that path. But I can go open up a Dropbox or a Google Drive, get it transferred immediately, and I'm done and keep it moving. Missing the whole point that they broke every policy, every procedures until something happens. And then it's like, oh my God, what happened? Because we as IT, we don't see that, right? And that's the exact same thing that's happening on the AI side. They have a project, they got to write a story, they got to write something out. Writer's block, hey, I got to get this thing out. I heard about the thing called ChatGPT, or I heard about Bard, or I heard about something. I go in there, put it in, summarizes it, gives me my 3 points, boom, I'm good. And away I go, right? All good intentions, right? And we know in the world of IT, people use good things to do bad things. And that's what happens, right? It's going to eventually get to that point. But the same thing happens is when you go down that path, you go. But if you come back the other way and make it easy and understand and put some laws and put some training and put some pieces inside, you've eased that requirement, but you also made them knowledgeable and understanding of what the impact may be on them, their company, and everybody that's involved. Because right now they're just kind of like this, right?
Yep.
We need them to be thinking like this. If you don't, we're gonna have a very different conversation very, very soon.
Yeah. And you know what? You just triggered something for me, not in a bad way. But I was just thinking, how could they get in trouble? Because the AI, if you use it to write an article or write a piece of marketing material or something like that, you're not going to be introducing copyrighted material, right?
Sure.
So you don't have to worry about that. But one of the concerns that I have seen is that when people are asking AI to develop images for marketing,
Yep.
this is where it can actually go out and it will steal other artists' work and incorporate that into what they're trying to create as an original piece for marketing. And that does represent a legal and financial risk to the company.
100%. Because at the end of the day, that's why you seeing if you look at what happened with the whole writers thing and the strike that happened in California, right? It was really behind that, right? They had a situation where I have all these writers, but I've figured out I can use AI to feed it to some of the pattern that I've learned in the past, and I can have it write a story or write a scene or write a certain thing where I may not need that writer as much or that artist or whatever that is as much. We've seen AI create full Drake songs, right? And Drake never was involved, right? And we've seen it do a lot of things, right? We also see now where you see the malicious thing I was telling you about before we started the show is that there was a guy in Hong Kong that they got on the deep fake, got on a phone call, a video call with people that was not real, and he wired a significant amount of money to other people, right? It's like, oh my gosh, how did that happen? So you're like, man, this is how it's working. This is what's going on. And then I think we all see now is that, hey, I've heard about this AI. I log into a Teams meeting and I got Anthony Eric's AI buddy in the chat with me, right? Copying, recording, sharing every piece of information that's happening on that call, right? It's there. It's learning. It's doing those things. A lot of people feel very uncomfortable having, something that we don't know what's going on back there, having that conversation and recording everything in that meeting. Good intentions, but unless you put some rules around it, it's very hard. It's very disturbing from that perspective, and you got to make sure you're doing it right.
So what are you doing with your clients to kind of deal with this shadow AI?
Yeah. So what we're doing with them is that we're really at that point of going out and having some conversations. I believe that this AI conversation is going to shake and open up the hard cybersecurity conversations that people wasn't willing to listen to, right? It's another opportunity for us to go in and revisit those conversations and take it a lot more serious, right? But really educating them about, hey, this thing is out here. AI is a real deal. Your people are using it. Let's tighten up some policies and procedures, tighten up your acceptable use policies, tighten up what you understand and what you expect from your employees, and get that right enough right now, right? And let's start thinking about it. But then also let's start digging down into the industry. Myself, I support legal, I support some manufacturing, I support a lot of nonprofits. And so what I've been doing is spending time directly in those industries to figure out what others are doing in that industry by leveraging AI so that they can stay abreast of it and either be leaders in that, but we're being the leaders to show them how they use that technology to move forward, how they write grants, how they research grants, how they break down information and things from that perspective. So really educating them and showing them that we as the MSP are at the forefront, being those thought leaders, not the laggards behind, taking them to that next level as well. And they're enjoying it. They're like, man, I had no idea that this was going on. I knew it was coming, but I'm so busy being a lawyer that I didn't have time to go research that, right? Too busy writing grants. Right now it's grant writing season. I'm too busy heads down to grants. I didn't have any idea about that. Now you're able to do that, right? That's what's been really cool for them.
So have you guys started to go down the road of creating policies around this as well?
We have, right? So we've been working on some things that we've been working through as a kind of a chief AI strategist kind of conversation as we've been going down, is teaching them how to go create the strategy of how it would fit in their business or not fit in their business. It may not be something they want to do. But again, if you're not telling them not to do it, then they're going to do it and it's okay. So we may not be here today, but let's figure out that path as we go down that path. So our goal is, let's go out and create some policies. Let's educate the leadership of what's going on. And then we're going to have some champions around the organization. If you see something, say something, and let's bring some real training around the true positives of AI, but also where there's some threats to the organization that we just need to be aware of, right? Don't hide it. Don't let it be around. But if you're using it, make sure everybody's aware that you're using it and that you're following the right policies and procedures and going down that path. Always leading them like we do on the cyber side. It says, look, we're never going to be the fastest thing because we're just not that way, right? Fast and secure just don't go together, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we're covering the holes. We're getting what you got to get done. We're going to get it done the right way. And that's the pieces where you have to continue to do those things and educate.
So it sounds like maybe a lunch and learn for a client or a group of clients might be, something that's advantageous. And I also imagine that this is probably relevant from a vertical standpoint, like in terms of you're going to talk to lawyers different about this than you're going to talk about manufacturing or talk to manufacturing clients.
For sure.
About it.
For sure. And again, what we've been using this as is that, we always talk about QBRs, TBRs, something BRs. This was, again, an opportunity for us to get back and re-engage those customers that may not have been engaged, right? This is one more thing to get them to come back to the table. But also our goal here is that we created is, let's sit down and talk about an assessment. Let's talk about and help you create this roadmap of what it ultimately looks like. Because as you started to see when this first came out, when you start thinking about where everybody's going to get, the low-hanging fruit is Microsoft and with Copilot, right? We know that that's here, is where it is. They made it to where I don't have to have 300 seat licenses. I can bring it down and everybody can have it with X dollars a month, right? We know that. The challenge is that if you're not at a business premium or above, you're not really going to get all the benefits. But now you can go have these conversations to upsell to that business premium so you can start equipping them to go down that next path and go down that place. And if you're already doing conditional access policies and hardening your 365 environment, what a great story to your customer and say, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, I've already started to secure you by doing what we do in 365. So as we bring in this situation, you're going to adopt and adapt all those policies and procedures we put in place. And this is your direction you want to go. Man, they just think that you're awesome, right? Because you've been forward thinking about that. But that's just the place of where it goes. So you have an opportunity to go and harden up 365, harden up new licenses, harden up a lot of different things to take them down that path. And when you show them the power of how they can reduce some of their work, get better things out of their work, provide better customer service at the end of the day, man, it's a powerful tool to do it. And now they don't have to go out there and research it and find out by accident. You're bringing it to them and educating them on the front side. And they're just very appreciative of it, 100%.
Yeah, it's the being proactive about these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad that you mentioned Copilot because I've talked to some other MSPs in the past week since Copilot has really been released. And, they're getting a lot of questions about Copilot and how they should, how clients should be using it. Have you been getting those kinds of questions? And what have those questions been like so far?
Yeah. So first thing, we've been running it in house and playing with it internally for a minute. We've been, sitting there chugging around and seeing what it can do from that perspective. I think the biggest deal is they're asking us all the security questions. Does Microsoft keep my data? What happens to my data? Is this right? Do they have access to all my data? What about this? And how does this happen? What do I protect myself? How do I eliminate? It's really all the cyber questions that are coming out, which again opens the door to have those conversations. Says, hey, we're protecting you in this way, and this is what we're doing. But really, how is it going to work? But then when we flip it around and show them and start talking about the benefit and get out of the technology and say, how about this? Let's say you're late to a Teams meeting and it's internal, right? And you're just running late. Your assistant is in there and it's only for you and Copilot, where you come back to that and you can ask and it says, hey, I missed a meeting with me, Eric, and Jack. Can you tell me what the 3 points was? What is I doing? What's my action items, right? And it catches you up. records that so you can continue going. Now, does that save you time? Does that help you out? Yeah. Now we're showing the business value of what that ultimately looks like and how it goes. What happens if you create a document where I got a Word document, Excel document, a PowerPoint, and a PDF that I always pulling stuff out of, and I got to go and cut and paste, mix, match from all these documents? Wouldn't it be cool if you had something that had an idea about each one of those documents that can pull and reference for you, just to have an assistant, right? In doing that, think about this. Think about you having your own personal assistant that you have to train, you have to be nice to, right? Because you do. And to be able to help you get through those things, man. And they're like, you know what? I never really thought about it like that. And when you show them that value and show them how it works, that's been really cool. And we show them the same way. As we've been using it to say, we don't feed it all the information from what we're doing in our case. What we do is I leverage my guys to help write documentation. As an MSP, engineers love documentation, but they hate creating documentation.
Yep.
Right? But what's really cool is they've already got the nuts and bolts of the documentation. You say, hey, tell me how to install a printer, HP 7542, and it'll tell you how to do it. Now all I got to do is go tweak it, save it, boom, I got an SOP, right? My guys are like, you know what? This is the best thing since sliced bread. I'm happy, right? So those are the kind of things that we're able to do. We're strengthening up our internal doing it, and we're leveraging, have real life cases about. Remember that instruction guide you got? Oh, that was awesome. Yep, that was created by AI. And they're like, what? Now you have that conversation to say, you could do this too. That's what the deal is. That's what's really cool about it.
Yeah, as long as you're testing those SOPs before you actually put them out.
100%. Test. Trust but verify. 100%.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's, I think it's really interesting that the fact that Copilot came out has started to really create a surge in these conversations, which I think is good.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned that most MSPs may not be ready to have these conversations. So what is your best advice for an MSP who wants to be more proactive about this so that they can actually go and, learn more about it and maybe start implementing policies, or at least be armed to have the conversations when people are calling in?
Yeah, I think, what's unique about this one is that Microsoft doesn't even provide the discounts to a partner, whatever. So you have to be vested and say, I'm going to invest. And I think that's one of the struggles of the MSP across the whole is that they don't want to invest in the tools for themselves because that's a cost to them than it is to go forward. You're going to have to change that mentality. You're going to say, I'm going to accept this costs because there's a realized value at the end that is going to be bigger than this cost all day long, right? Go down that path. If you're a direct with Microsoft or you're a CSP or going through anybody and you're part of this process, everybody has a program where they're teaching and educating people on Copilot, how to get involved with Copilot, how to go down that path in Copilot, training on Copilot, free Copilot, however you want to get done. It's everywhere. So, only people that you can't find it because you ain't looking for it, but you got to go out there and get it. Educate yourselves, be knowledgeable about it. Because if your customer is coming up to you and asking you about it and you're not aware of it, just think about that MSP that's being proactive, coming at them, asking them about Copilot. Now they've got your customer's ear, and now you're in the defense instead of an offensive situation, right? And we all know it's a hard conversation when you're on your back heels, right? Be in the forefront, go get it, but educate yourself. Go look at the training. There's training in every last CSP out there, Pax8, App River, you name them, they all have it free. Go for it. Go get trained on it. Go learn it. Go figure out how to get it done. But the way you're going to do it is use it. Play with it. Figure out how it works. Figure out how you have it in Teams and Excel and Word and Outlook on your phone and all that good stuff. So now you're getting that experience of what it's like for yourself. Coming in, it's already going to be in Windows 11 right off the bat. If you're using the Bing, it's there, right? Don't let them accidentally find it. Educate them and be in front of it. Put it in a newsletter. Get it out in front of them, because that's going to establish you as that true IT partner that's being at the forefront. And they're saying, man, this guy is on point. Let's continue to hear more about that, because they're going to be in meetings and hearing about AI, and they're going to ask that one person, what's our strategy about AI? And they go, oh, no, you don't want to be that guy, right?
Yeah.
You want to be that guy and says, yeah, I've already talked to our MSP. Here's what we're doing. Here's what we're testing. Here's what we're rolling out. And here's our policy of how we do this, right? That's
Yep.
powerful. It's powerful
Yeah.
right there for anybody.
Because if you don't, you kind of allow that gap to form where somebody else could get their foot in the door. It's kind of like, so back in the day when I was at Logic Now, we had a product called Risk Intelligence. And this, we literally were telling MSPs, your competition isn't doing this. Go out and do risk intelligence on, somebody's environment, show them the data that they have at risk, because almost guaranteed at that point in time, nobody else was doing this, or very few people were doing it. Sure. And it was a way to get your foot in the door. And if you can get your foot in the door, then you can just start opening it wider and wider. And I've seen people get transitioned off because somebody got their foot in the door through cyber, through voice over IP. That one's happened for a long time. And other things. So I think AI is another example of that happening. And, it's just not something you want to happen with your clients. And I think you mentioned something else, creating articles, creating newsletters, doing video content for your clients. And it's not just for your clients, right? If you put yourself forth as a subject matter expert on social media and you're talking about these things, people are going to start asking you questions, and that, just opens the door for a conversation, and maybe, they become a client.
And you're hitting it right off the bat, right? So if you start to look at it and say, let's say you had a customer that's been hanging on to these on-premise servers forever, right? And just like, I got to do it. I'm never going to change. And you've been trying to have this cloud conversation, have this cloud, you got to get to SharePoint, got to get to Azure, got to get to this place, and they're just not there. All of a sudden they go to this conference and they get all jazzed about this AI, how they have to do it. Well, guess what? That is the conversation to get them to move the point, because that's where Copilot comes in and says, hey, I'm on the Azure servers, I'm on SharePoint, I'm in the cloud. If you want to really take advantage of me and hit that place, you need to be here. Now somebody else has validated to now shake you off that on-prem servers and to push along that project to the next phase, right? Those are the key pieces of looking at all the projects that have stalled, all the projects that have held up. I guarantee you, if you go back and look at those in the past and figure out how AI can have you have those conversations, I guarantee they open the door for those conversations to come back and probably move it so farther up the door that you probably close. I'd be on the guess, say 65, 70% of those all day.
And that's huge. Taking lost opportunities and converting them into closed ones, just because the technology has changed. Right. The opportunities have changed.
100%.
So let's switch gears for just a second, because I want to talk about the subject that I brought up with Keith Nelson a couple of weeks ago, in terms of, okay, how does an MSP turn this into a package? What are some of the packages that MSPs might be able to put together that would be, that they could sell as part of managed services?
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I did a long time ago was just about everything I did was I branded it, but also made it there was a service, right? So it's going to really become AI as a service is ultimately where it's going to come down to, or wherever I do as a service. So some of the things we've been working on is I took a page out and says, what do we do that's similar as we get down there? Because it's really talking about the strategy and how we're there. So we took what we do in cyber from a governance perspective and say, hey, I'm going to go in there and create a business ready assessment. Let's go figure out how ready you are, right? We already know that if you're trying to get to the cloud and you're still on-prem servers, so you have this place where you may be in a government situation or something where you're not ready for that. You can't even be going down that path, right? In some cases, by going down this path may put those contracts and your business in jeopardy of those, right? So we'll put a business ready address so I can say, how healthy am I and where am I at to go and have this journey and go down that conversation, right? So I can start thinking about what my investment looks like. Also coming down is let's talk about policies and procedure creation, right? I like to start off with, let's figure out how to bring the culture in, how to leverage these policies and procedures, and then making sure that one, if it goes in and gets set on the shelf and you're not activating it and not using it, then all it is a piece of paper and a book sitting on the shelf somewhere. You got to make sure it's become part and you've been used. But you can sit there and say, hey, here's how we do it. Here's what we do it. Here's what we allow and what we don't allow. Anything outside of that, it's not going to happen, right? And then the next piece is you're going to be sitting there and talk about AI awareness training, very similar to what you talk about security awareness training is. How do I identify? Now we're going to have AI predicting AI. I was having a conversation where if I create something with ChatGPT and I take Grammarly and dump it in there, I could probably trick the AI of thinking that this was written by not something. And it's like, you can see they're already going down this path to figure out how to use this one to create this one, to create this one, to create that one. And I was like, no, let's talk about awareness training so you can identify things, right? Deep fakes. How do I identify that? How do I identify people calling me and hearing voice and things from that perspective, right? Re-educating you and continue down that path and coming down to it. And then how do I, as a whole, incorporate this into my business marketing strategy of where I want to go? If we're using the technology and we have what an MSP is teaching us, how there's an opportunity to say, we leverage AI in this way, or we do it this way, or we don't do it this way, right up front. Differentiate me from everybody else. Yes, I sell widgets and my widgets are just like your widgets, but our widgets are better because we do this. That little bit of that is enough to change the whole goal, right? Where it goes. And that's that piece is where we really spend time and saying, how does it work? And then have the ability to sit down and say, let us talk about what's the best place for you. Is it OpenAI? Is it Bard? Is it IBM Watson? Is it Copilot? What is it, right? Where do you want to go and how do you want to be from that perspective? And there's, pluses and minuses in each one of those if we want to go down. And it may be different for any organization of how you do, or do I want to go and create my whole own learning model and really say, probably not, because that is very, very expensive to be able to do some things like that. How do I go out there and eat this elephant, right? Our goal is to make sure that we get the whole elephant, but we're going to start with the trunk, come down to the node, keep it moving, right? And chop it up so that you can really consume it in the right way, right? And know that this thing is moving so fast that the way we start today may not be where we are tomorrow because something has changed and something has adapted. That's a big deal. So to me, those are the places where I see true opportunity for MSPs to go out there and sell this. Go back, revisit old opportunities that AI may bring back to the forefront, but then create these packages of how you get in there and establish yourself as the expert of how you roll this out, how I protect you, and how we continue to grow your business by leveraging this new technology, right? Even something that you probably didn't think about is how do I help you find these classes to retrain your own employees to be more AI intelligent and more better from that perspective to help transition to that next step. Because I'm going to need AI data analysts. I'm going to need AI proofers. I'm going to need AI something else that they don't exist today, right? Yeah. There's whole new roles and things that a company is going to need that don't even exist today. And you have to help them think about, what does that look like? What does my skill set look like? What does that ultimately go? And I think that's where you ultimately got to do it. And we're doing this as an MSP today. It's like, man, the guys I have today, are they going to be able to do what I'm doing right now? How do I move my level 1 to a level 2 and my level 2 to something else? How do I continue to keep it right and ready? Maybe the people who are on the bus with me today may not be on the ones who are on the bus tomorrow. But what does a new employee look like? What does that new person look like? I don't know. Those are the conversations that we're having, and we're eating our own dog food to do that. And it's fun. It's a new challenge, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, new challenges are always fun. It's always fun to find the new way to use it, the new way to, just whatever it is to use that tool in a new and different way.
Yeah.
So I love the kind of parallels and almost intersections with cybersecurity in terms of, there's policy management that needs to be done.
Yep.
There are opportunities to go back and see if AI can now be leveraged to do the things that you couldn't do before. So there are lots of opportunities, I think, for MSPs to leverage this. And I think that's great. Now, you started talking there at the end about, the usage inside of the MSP. And I kind of had this conversation, or or part of this conversation with Tim Coach from PIA a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think it was right at the end of the year in a podcast maybe. And we were talking about, my Apple, things are working. Anyway, so we were talking specifically about how AI can actually help the level 1 technicians, progress, because now you have AI helping them with the technical side of the problem, and you can almost hire more customer friendly
Yep.
people to do level 1 help desk, because the tech is actually being handled by AI.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of opportunities for MSPs here as well.
And this is the piece, right? So I think all MSPs, whether they want to admit it or not, the challenge is creating that documentation and have solid SOPs in the background, right? Remember, engineers love documentation, but they hate to create it. If we can get AI and to help my guys create better documentation, better retention of occupation, then it gives me an opportunity for us to train the next engineer to be able to answer that question. Even out to self-help to the customers, I got to create that point. So we're looking at it saying, how can I leverage that technology to tighten up and make my internal documentation better? Then now, if I bring in something like every help desk is bringing it, right? Halo is big right now. They got AI built into it, right? You look at what Crushbank does, right? Mm-hmm. If I don't have good documentation or good stuff to pull from, then it's going to produce garbage out to whoever gets that into it, right? So my goal is that in order to leverage that, now you're right, I can bring in someone who has great customer service skills that know how to prompt, give me what I need for X, and they answer the question and can be able to articulate that as if they are experts and show that confidence. They won't know any difference than it was somebody else, and they can literally go step by step and solve the problem for them. Even that's how chatbot works, right? If I wanted to put it out to a chat, if I can give it solid enough information to answer the question and get through it, then there's really no information, no need to ever interact with the human if I didn't need to. But I got to give it that was good documentation. And that's the same thing about AI, right? Someone still had to scrub the data. Someone still had to feed the data to it. Somebody still had to do it. Remember, it's learning. And one of the things that I've learned and going through all this co-pilot training is AI is an assistant, not an autopilot, right? You still have to train it. You still have to treat it just like I would a person or a human being beside me to get it up to a point where if I bring it in and say, hey, your AI, go search everything, solve it for yourself, it's going to fail miserably, right? It's not there yet. Maybe one day I think it will be, but today I got to treat it in the same manner as I would a person, right? And think about what I'm saying here. If you've been in the industry long enough, that is why outsourced help desk fail, is that we go out there and say, oh, they got it. And we treat them like they're over there, not part of the team. It doesn't work. What make you think AI is going to be anything different, right? You got to bring it in part of the team, train it up the way you want to do it. It's not on autopilot, right? You got to work through with it. That's the key pieces I see that you got to have.
I love that analogy. I love having the mindset of you have to make AI a part of the team.
Yep.
Rather than just this kind of ad hoc usage. And I think, I think that's key to the role of the MSP in this, because the MSP is the one who's going to understand how AI becomes a member of the team rather than just a technology tool.
For sure. Yep. And I think that's the piece that we have to get into, because we're treating it like it's this all-encompassing new person employee that where it comes from, and it knows everything. It has access to know everything. It has the ability to know everything, but you still have to, again, think about it. It responds to your prompts and what you're asking it to get information out. So what's really cool about it is it's waiting for you to guide it, right? I think of it as if you're a bad mentor, your mentee is going to struggle. So AI is your mentee. You're the mentor. You got to take it to where you want to go, right? So think about it. If Yoda did never show Luke how to get that thing out of there, he would have never got the plane out. And he would have never had he had the force, but he wouldn't know how to do it with it, right?
Yep.
So you got to be the Yoda to the AI, man, in order to take it to where it want to go, and it'll become powerful, right? We know that.
Awesome. Well, Corey, I think that this is probably a great place to wrap this up. if I were to summarize this, I would probably say, in terms of an MSP trying to approach this, I think that learning it for themselves first, they have to get familiar with it, especially in terms of the technologies where their customers, their clients are going to run into it every day.
Yeah.
Copilot, OpenAI, Bard, all of those things that you mentioned. They have to at least understand how those work so that when clients call, they can answer the questions about those technologies.
100%.
And then second step is to now go out and have conversations with their clients and say, hey, AI is a really good thing, but it's important to know that there are some risks and we need to create some policies and some training around AI for your employees. And then step number 3, identify how we can actually improve the client's business by leveraging AI. Is that kind of a good synopsis of?
You the man, brother. Yes, sir. That you hit it right on the head, man. Is if you do those things and go down that path, I think those are great first steps to go be successful in that. Learn it, go educate them, and then help them figure out how to make them make money, right? And I think that's the key piece it's how you help them better and what they're going to get done and be more successful. So the more money they make, the more money they can put into budget to pay you and continue to grow. And I think that's what everybody wants to do is prosper. So that's good.
Awesome. Any last words?
Nah, man. Hey, Eric, as always, I appreciate it, man. I hope today that anybody got anything out of that, but always welcome to reach out to me. I'm always welcome to talk. I don't believe we have competition, man. We just have, a community that willing to help any way we can, man. I appreciate these great topics, man. I appreciate what you do for this community. As always, Eric, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, sir. And speaking of community, we are both going to be at Community Councils Forums for CCF at CompTIA in March. So, and that's open to everybody. If you're a CompTIA member, you can join. You can go to that event, and we definitely, it's almost like a big working session, right? Yeah. That's where we really want to get a lot of people's input. Now, if you can't go to that, I do want to let you know there is an MSP group meeting coming up. I believe it's February 20th through the 21st. I can't remember. We don't have the landing page yet. But as soon as we do, it'll be out on all of the All Things MSP social media because, we love CompTIA here at All Things MSP. And so keep an eye out for that. And Corey, thanks again. And I will see you at CCF.
Perfect, brother. Take care.
Thanks. All right, everybody. Thanks again for another great night here at All Things MSP Live. Don't forget, upcoming next is Marvin B. I don't know who the guest is tonight, but he always has a great guest, and it's always a great show. So go check out Marvin, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. And once again, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Produce8, Gozinta at atmsp.link/Gozinta, EasyDmark, atmsp.link/EasyDmark, Comtech Systems at atmsp.link/Comtech, MoveBot at atmsp.link/MoveBot, and SuperOps.ai, atmsp.link/SuperOps. And don't forget our elite sponsor, CoreView, atmsp.link/CoreView.